Coming up on News 2, the VI Port Authority Board of Directors discuss the ongoing renovations at the Bournefield units. An update for you. Hovensa is agreeing to sell the refinery, and that's according to a joint statement released from Government House. Plus, Croix Police are examining 2 separate stabbing incidents. Details. Hello, welcome, and thanks for joining us on this edition of News 2. I'm Sandra Mansing. Top in this newscast, the Virgin Islands Port Authority Governing Board met Wednesday, covering a lengthy agenda of financial and property issues to include on the ongoing renovations at the Bournefield units across the street from the airport. News 2's Erica Bivens brings us details from that meeting.
Extreme, critical, and threatening. That's how Attorney General Vincent Fraser described one unit in Bournefield. The VI Port Authority Board of Directors met Wednesday and reviewed Executive Director Carlton Dow's report of the ongoing renovations at Bournefield.
These units, as we see it, we see in the condition are not suitable to continue to have individuals living in.
The board already approved $100,000 for repairs to the 42 units, but they ran into issues at the first unit, which requires mitigation.
That mitigation work alone is $20,000.
Board member Fraser discussed revisiting a payout option for the tenants, which was previously rejected. Another option mentioned was to up the budget for the repairs.
There has to be some line there where it just becomes foolish to do a repair.
However, Bournefield tenant Josephine Linquist says they're not painting an accurate picture.
What Port seeks to do is paint Bournefield in a bad light, and that's all the units. They've been working in one unit for 3 weeks, and I know for a fact, and I have documentation, that they knew about the condition in this unit for years, but they had not done any maintenance. And as a result of not doing any maintenance, you get the conditions that were presented in the board meeting today.
Dow maintains they need to take care of mitigation work first, but says
The long-term goal must be to condemn those buildings, tear them down, and start afresh.
Dow did express a willingness to help relocate tenants and said they're looking into federal tax credits to help, but some members maintain
Port Authority has to get out of the residential housing business. That is not in our mission, it's not in our mandate.
For News 2, I'm Erica Bivens.
No exact plans for the area were stated if tenants are to be evicted, nor was a relocation site addressed. On Wednesday, the Senate's Committee on Culture, Historic Preservation, Youth and Recreation met with officials from the Division of Libraries, Archives and Museums to get an update on current projects. Of particular interest was the closure of the Enid Ball Library and facilities to use until the Charles Turnbull Library can open.
What we have attempted to do, again with the resource challenges that we have, is to expand the scope of the bookmobile. While it may be a less than optimal substitute, to at least try to make that more so readily available in the rounds that it makes into the various communities. And working very diligently to bring the St. John bookmobile online as well.
The Amalago Bay Beach Resort and Casino may be moving forward in the near future as developers William & Punch LLC met with federal agencies within the last month to discuss environmental concerns holding the project back. Concerns that William & Punch says they plan to address in a work plan to move forward. News 2's Janisha John brings us this story.
It's been 5 years since William & Punch filed its original permit application for the Amalago Bay Resort in Frederiksted. And now, after many holdups and concerns, it seems that the project just might move forward since developers were recently able to meet with federal agencies to address their concerns.
We have just recently had a meeting with the Army Corps. It was a coordination meeting between the other federal agencies, EPA, Fish and Wildlife, National Marine Fisheries, to basically get all of their concerns out on the table.
Agencies brought up concerns about sedimentation and erosion and also a possible negative impact on turtle nesting, issues that William & Punch says they've consulted with experts about and have addressed in their engineering and action plan for the resort and beach.
We've developed a work plan to address the concerns.
The beaches that will be impacted by William and Punch are interesting because currently there's no management, there's no projects there to manage or conserve the sea turtle populations that are utilizing those beaches. With the development, there's actually an active sea turtle management and conservation plan. So it calls for protection of the nests, protection of the females, management of any nests that are laid during and after the construction phase.
The team also plans to create an artificial reef for foraging turtles, using natural products from the marina's excavation. Just one of the positive impacts William and Punch says they'll have on the area.
This project affords us the opportunity to manage this resource.
We are addressing their concerns. We don't actually have any negative impacts. All of our impacts, because of the state of the property now, all of our impacts will be positive.
Janisha John, News 2.
William and Punch's Vice President of Planning, Chris Elliott, says they will present a final submission to the agencies addressing their concerns and should get a final decision on the project in 60 days. Hovensa is agreeing to sell the refinery. That's according to a joint statement released from Government House and Senate President Sean Michael Malone's office late Tuesday. The release also indicated that Hovensa will continue to provide fuel to St. Croix. NEWS2's Erica Parsons has the details.
The news that plans to sell the Hovensa refinery could soon be underway hit the airwaves early Wednesday after details of a meeting of elected officials were released. Governor DeYoung hosted the meeting late Tuesday to update senators on the status of continued negotiations between Hovensa and the VI government. During that briefing, DeYoung told Congresswoman Christensen and senators that Hovensa's owners have agreed to a sales process, although the joint statement provided by Government House and Senate President Sean Michael Malone's office didn't give additional details. Rather, the governor said in the statement that those details are yet to be finalized. In order to work out just what the specifics will look like, Hovensa needs more time, and so they've requested an additional extension for the current interim agreement set to expire at the end of this month. That agreement outlines Hovensa's obligations to the territory, and the governor granted the extension. He told officials present at Tuesday's meeting he was assured that there would be no interruption to St. Croix's fuel supply. He said that both sides will work to complete without delay negotiations towards an agreement for the 30th legislature to review. Senate President Malone said in the statement that in order to protect the interests of the people of this territory, it is critical that we maintain a unified front on this issue. Malone asked that Governor DeYoung make sure the Senate has enough time to fully analyze any agreement they are asked to ratify. Erica Parsons, News 2.
Now, all 15 senators were present at Tuesday's meeting, as well as the delegate, Lieutenant Governor, VI Attorney General, DPNR's Commissioner, and Government House senior staff. The government's Hovensa consultants were also present. Turning our attention stateside, Jesse Jackson Jr. admits he used hundreds of thousands of dollars in campaign funds for personal use. The former Illinois congressman pleaded guilty in a Washington courtroom this morning. His wife, who is also charged, is due to appear in court later. Danielle Nottingham is at the courthouse.
Jesse Jackson Jr. and his wife showed little emotion as they walked into a Washington courthouse. But once inside, the former congressman teared up while admitting he spent more than $700,000 in campaign cash for personal use. Guilty, Your Honor, Jackson said. I misled the American people.
He had to come to terms for conduct that people who care about him find very hard to understand.
Jackson's wife Sandra is also expected to plead guilty in a separate hearing this afternoon. The couple faces several years in prison for using campaign money to buy luxury items, including a $43,000 Rolex watch and more than $5,000 on expensive clothes. Jesse Jackson Sr. came to the courthouse to support his son, who followed his father into politics. Jackson Jr. spent 17 years in Congress, but he took a leave of absence last summer and entered treatment for bipolar disorder. He later resigned his seat. Jesse Jackson Jr. initially tried to take all the blame, but prosecutors would not accept any deal without the former congressman acknowledging his wife knew what he was doing. Jackson's deal requires him to repay $750,000 in campaign funds, including money he used for travel and meals with a mistress. He also has to turn over Bruce Lee and Michael Jackson memorabilia he bought, including a $4,000 guitar and a $4,600 fedora. Danielle Nottingham, News 2.
And keeping our eye on the economy, Yahoo has a new look starting today. The internet search engine is gradually rolling out a long-awaited makeover of its homepage. The website's first redesign in 4 years is meant to get people to visit more frequently and linger for longer periods of time. It's the most notable change to the websites since Yahoo hired Marissa Mayer as its CEO 7 months ago. This is a New York Stock Exchange with Scotiabank's Stock Market Watch. Everything down. The Dow 108, NASDAQ 49, S&P 18. Coming up on News 2, here's a Black History quiz. He seemed to have a knack for getting himself in trouble. His father decided to send the teenager to the United States from the Bahamas for his own good. He tried to get into acting, but his thick accent became a problem for many of the roles, but he eventually became the first Black Academy Award winner. We'll be right back. A man was stabbed several times Sunday but refused medical treatment. St. Croix Police say the victim was stabbed in his home in Frederickstead on February 17th, shortly before 7 that night. According to the victim, the suspect came to his home saying he wanted to speak with him. After a brief conversation, the suspect entered the home against the victim's wishes, got a knife from the kitchen, and repeatedly stabbed him in the upper arm. The suspect is described as a dark-skinned male in his mid-20s, 5'3", about 150 pounds, with braided hair. Police on St. Croix are also investigating another stabbing incident. This one happened Monday around 8:30 p.m. A victim walked into a Frederickstead bar on Market Street holding his side. EMT officials say he was stabbed several times on his left side. He was taken to the hospital for treatment but couldn't provide any information at the time because of the extent of his injuries. Anyone with information on either of these cases urged to contact police or call Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-TIPS. Meanwhile, police are investigating a recent robbery of a purse in the Sunny Isles housing community on St. Croix. The robbery took place around 8 p.m. on February 17th when the victim and a female minor were outside of the victim's vehicle. When the male suspect walked up, pointed a gun at them. The victim then threw her purse and screamed, and the suspect took the purse and fled the area. The suspect was a slim male, about 5'8", wearing a black shirt over his face. Police again ask that anyone with information on this crime call Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-TIPS. Meanwhile, taking a look at this week's Crime Stoppers report, police say in the past 2 weeks, the Castleburg area has been plagued with robberies and burglaries. In one incident, 2 minors were accosted in the area of the bus shanty by 2 males with a gun. In others, several homes occupied by elderly people were burglarized. The suspects have been described as a young black male and a young Hispanic male using a dark-colored older model Jeep or Ford SUV and a small green pickup truck. Over on St. John, officers say on Thursday, November 29th, around 10 a.m., a woman placed her wedding ring on the sink in the bathroom at the Grand Bay Resort while she washed her hands. At 3 p.m., she realized she had left her ring in that bathroom and went back to get it, but it was gone. They say the ring, valued at $10,000, has a 3-carat center stone set in white gold with a 1.8 carats of circular diamonds throughout the band. And on St. Thomas, on Tuesday, January 29th at 5 p.m., a woman returned to her home in Estate Hall Bay and discovered it had been burglarized. The burglars stole 4 18-carat gold chains that were engraved with the initials BQSJ and $100 in cash, along with the alarm system and cameras. Share what you know with Crime Stoppers about this burglary by calling 1-800-222-8477. In our Black History moment, Sidney Poitier, the Academy Award-winning actor who broke down walls for Black performance in Hollywood, turned 86 years old today. The younger, handsome actor had to work very hard to prove himself a native of the Bahamas. Poitier grew up in poverty as the son of a dirt farmer. He had little formal education and at the age of 15 was sent to Miami to live with his brother. After many struggles, he impulsively attended an audition and was rejected. but used that as an avenue to work even harder and even lose his accent. He's known for being the first black man nominated for an Academy Award in an acting category for his work in The Defiant Ones, and the first to win the Best Actor category. His later roles included the interracial romance drama Guess Who's Coming to Dinner? In 2002, he was given an honorary Academy Award. Get ready for some Latin flavor on St. Thomas this Friday as the International Capital and Management Company welcomes the Steps Band from San Juan for the popular Jazz in the Park music series. The band is set to light the stage with a mix of classic contemporary sounds and will feature popular Boston-based jazz flutist Enrique Kalani Trinidad. The event is free and takes place at the Roosevelt Park lawn and will have a kids zone activity area for children. Residents are encouraged to bring their blankets and coolers and enjoy the free event. And if you want to know what the weather's going to be like, stick around. Your News 2 AccuWeather forecast is coming up next.